Are you planning on buying a home in the next few months? In this video, we're going to take a look at what to expect for the rest of 2024 in the housing market. Then next week, be sure to tune in because we're going to take a look at what impact the presidential elections have on the housing market. So if you've been watching the housing market carefully, trying to decide if now is the best time for you to buy or sell a home, stay tuned and you'll see what the experts are saying is going to happen in the second half of 2024. I'm James Brophy, a realtor and lifelong resident of the Myrtle Beach area. I love sharing how great it is living here in coastal South Carolina. My local knowledge and insight comes from living here for over 50 years. Adding real-time market data to this local insight allows me to provide you with the valuable information you will need when deciding if Myrtle Beach is the right place for you. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have about the area. In the description below, you'll find all my contact information. Send me a text or an email, or let's just schedule a call. And while you're there, if you could leave me a comment and let me know where you're viewing from, that would be great. Now let's move on to what we can expect for the rest of 2024. When looking for insights for the rest of 2024, I'd like to focus on three key areas: home prices, home inventory, and mortgage rates. But let's start here with a quote from the Chief Economist of the National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Yun. So here's what Lawrence says: the market is at an interesting point with rising inventory and lower demand. Supply and demand movements suggest easing of home price appreciation in the upcoming months. Inevitably, more inventory in a job-creating economy will lead to greater home buying, especially when mortgage rates descend. So Lawrence is saying we're going to have rising inventory, easing of price appreciation, which doesn't mean prices are going down, and demand will increase, especially when interest rates come down. So what are the expectations for prices? So there's a lot of talk right now about the real estate market and what's going to happen with home prices. We're going to take a look at the latest home price forecast, but one thing's for sure, inventory is rising. It's all due to the affordability constraints that the buyers are feeling, but prices are not going down. Take a look at this chart with price forecasts from several sources. This chart shows the home price forecast nationally for this year, and the average of all the different forecasters right now is 2.8%. I think we'll be somewhere between 3 and 5% is what we'll ultimately see, but you see the lion's share of predictions are somewhere between 4 and 5% here in the Home Price Expectation Survey. We're seeing a much more normal price appreciation, not the unhealthy price appreciation that we saw a couple of years ago. We have another quote from NAR. Jessica over at NAR says this: the one thing that seems to be pretty solid is home prices are going to continue to go up, and the reason is that we don't have enough housing inventory. So now let's take a look at inventory. This chart is looking all the way back to the 90s, showing the months of inventory on the market, which is essentially the number of homes for sale. What do you see back in the mid to early 2000s, 2008 specifically, is the oversupply of homes on the market, to where now we've been in a seller's market, being undersupplied with homes for many, many years, which again keeps upward pressure on prices. So that's why we're not seeing home prices fall right now. So you can see why prices have risen with a very low supply of homes. Now, inventory is certainly an important factor, but what happens in the economy also affects home prices, specifically mortgage rates. As rates have risen, buyers have had affordability challenges, which has affected the demand for homes. So what's happening with interest rates? I've got the latest interest rate projections for you. Then we'll take a look at what actions are expected from the Fed, since the rates will follow a path that they create. This is the latest projections as of June of 2024, going through the third quarter of this year through the second quarter of next year. We're trying to get down to that 6.5% on the 30-year fixed mortgage sometime by the end of the fourth quarter, beginning of the first quarter of 2025. That's what we'd all like to see, is just a little bit of relief in mortgage rates. You see the path here by maybe getting below that 6.5% by the midpoint of next year. Now, one thing is always true: if you try to predict and forecast mortgage rates, you will be wrong. We have not seen the path this year of what we expected at the beginning of 2024 with mortgage rates. We thought the Fed would come out and cut rates, and they didn't do that at the beginning of the year. We know by now what happened earlier this year. Looking at this path, rates were moving down. Then they bumped back up when the Fed didn't make a move earlier this year. This graph is a projection from MBA of the rest of 2024 and moving into 2025. It's showing a downward trending environment in mortgage rates. If this proves to be true, we'll see a relief in mortgage rates in the second half of this year. Homes will then become more affordable for people to buy, and we want to see that to happen. We want to see affordability improve so buyer demand can increase. So a lot of this is going to depend on the path that the Fed takes with rates. They don't have control over the mortgage rate, but them lowering the Fed funds rate will be an indication that we're starting to get through some of the economic issues we have faced in this country relative to high inflation and other things that the Fed has tried to control by raising rates. But the question is, when will they reduce the rate? As I record this, the consensus coming out is there could be one rate cut this year, and when will that be? We don't really know. Let's take a look at this slide. So when will the Federal Reserve cut the Fed funds rate? Here's a chart showing the predictions from many different banks. And you'll see that these banks are predicting some type of rate adjustment in the fall, in September specifically, and we'll have to really continue to watch that. I will tell you that the odds of a cut in September are coming down as we enter into this volatile election season. There's always a question, is the Fed going to be acting to try and influence one particular candidate or another? They're in an almost no-win situation right now, so I'm going to stay on top of this. And next week's video is going to be all about the housing market during a presidential election year, so come back next week to watch that one. In closing, here's a quote from a University of New York economics professor about the housing market. He gives an outlook for this market going ahead for the second half of this year and into 2025 and really the next 5 years. He says, when it comes to the real estate forecast for the next 5 years, I'm cautiously optimistic. I believe we're going to see a lot of ebb and flow over the next 5 years. Some highs, some lows, but overall a healthy market price should continue to rise, though more slowly. Buyers might enjoy more options as inventory expands, but remember, real estate is profoundly local. What happens on a national scale can manifest differently in your own backyard. I really don't think I could have said it any better. Overall, we're predicting a healthy market with prices continuing to rise, but just more slowly. Buyers will enjoy more options as inventory expands, and that's what we want. We don't want prices to rise at the fast pace they were rising a few years back. We want prices to rise at a reasonable rate. We want buyers to be able to find the homes that they want, and we want affordability to continue to improve. So all indications are we're moving in the right direction. One of the areas we're certainly waiting for is what is going to happen to the market with the presidential election. This question comes up every single election cycle. So next week, I'm going to show the data of what has happened in previous election years to the housing market. I follow these national trends so I can better understand what's happening locally, and I can give you the best information about the local Myrtle Beach market. If you are considering buying or selling a home in the Myrtle Beach area, I'd be happy to talk to you more about our market and do some research for you to help you decide if Myrtle Beach is the right place for you. All of my information is in the description below. Send me a text or an email or schedule a call. I'd be more than happy to talk to you more about it. I'm James Brophy, RE/MAX Southern Shores. Thanks for watching.